Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spaghetti Westerns podcast. I'm Tom Betts, your host. This is still season 6. It's episode 6. Number 119 is the total number. Today we're going to talk about in our history of the Spaghetti Western, the son of Jesse James. Whatever became of, we're going to talk about the great Pilar Velasquez. Who are those guys? Going to tell you who Joe Camel is. Film of the week is A Hole in the Forehead with Anthony Guidra. I've got an autograph of the week, poster of the week. I've got a book of the week. CD is A Hole in the Forehead. There was no soundtrack for Son of Jesse James that was released. And then we'll wrap things up with the news of the week. So let's get into it. First up, we have History of the Spaghetti Westerns and the Son of Jesse James. Okay, Son of Jesse James, a 64 Spanish-Italian co-production. Spanish title is El Hijo de Jesse James. Italian title is Solo Contro Tutti. English title is Jesse James Kid. Also One Against All. Another title is Man Alone. Most common title is The Son of Jesse James. Directed by Antonio Dell'Amo. Story and screenplay are by Pino Pasalacqua, Antonio Dell'Amo, and Marcello Fondato. Cinematography is by Alfredo Fraile. It's an Eastman color and total scope. Also, sometimes Fausto Zuccoli is given credit as a co-cinematographer. Music is by Angelo Francesco Lavagnino. Running time is 94 minutes. Cast consists of Jesse and Bill Smith and Bill James, and Mr. Howard was played by Robert Hundar. Dorothy Parker, or Dorothy Power, was played by Mercedes Alonso. Sheriff Alan Davies, or Alan Davis, is played by Adrian Hoven. Bruce, played by Ralph Baldazar. Alfonso, or Alonso Pedro Miguel Almodoras, is played by Robert Camardiel, or actually Roberto Camardiel is his real name. And Bob Marshall, or Bob Ford, is played by Louis Nduni. The story goes, Bill James, played by Robert Hundar, is just a child when his father, Jesse James, also played by Robert Hundar, is assassinated by his cousin, Bob Ford, played by Louis Nduni. 20 years later, Bill James, who is the mirror image of his father, surprise, surprise, rides away from Missouri to avoid the hatred caused by his father's death. At the three-star ranch owned by Dorothy Parker, played by Mercedes Alonso, Bill is hired as a ranch hand. He enjoys the quiet farm work, but not for long, because soon he becomes involved in the persecution that the farm and the girls suffer at the hands of Bob Ford, who is now going by the name of Bob Marshall, a bully stock breeder. The first clashes between Marshall and Bill do not lead to any solution, but Bill, indicted for the murder of a man, is forced to flee. Meanwhile, he develops a suspicion that Marshall and his murderous uncle are the same person, and when his suspicions are confirmed, he returns to the town and challenges and kills Bob Ford. Remember when we did the Robert Hundar special episode number 20, early in the genesis of the Spaghetti Westerns? Robert Hundar was called the king of the Spaghetti Westerns. In The Son of Jesse James, Hundar plays a dual role as Jesse James and his son Bill James. He's at his best in this film, and little of the real story of the assassination of the legendary outlaw takes place. Other than the names Jesse James and Bob Ford, nothing else is really correct. Remember what we said in the last episode, 7 Hours on Gunfire. Only the main characters' names are real. The story is completely manufactured and fabricated. The audience knows what's going to happen early on. It's just a matter of how long it will take for Jesse Jr. to realize who Bob Marshall really is and how he's going to exact his revenge. Roberto Camardiel plays the role of Alonso Pedro Miguel Almodoros, early on was not saddled with the whiskey-type roles. Hundar, although playing both Jesse Sr. and Jr., is able to pull it off with the addition of a mustache and a hairstyle. The opposite is true of Induni, Bob Ford, who looks basically the same age throughout. A bit of trivia here. I live in Anaheim, California, and that is in Orange County. The superior courts for the county are in neighboring Santa Ana, and James R. Ross was one of the judges. He was actually the great-grandson of the real Jesse James. He died in 2007 at the age of 80. He wrote a book about Jesse James, and it's well worth picking up because it actually gives the story from the family side. This is a decent film and worth checking out. It has not been released in any format, but is on YouTube. Okay, actor profiles. We have Jesse James, Bill Smith, Bill James, and Mr. Howard, all played by Robert Hundar. He was born Claudio Andari on January 12, 1935, in Castelvetrano, Trapani, Sicily, Italy. He appeared in 21 spaghetti westerns and died in Rome on May 12, 2008. We covered him in his own episode, as I mentioned before. It's number 20. Dorothy Parker, or Dorothy Power, was played by Mercedes Alonso. She was born Maria de los Mercedes Alonso Gomez in Santander, Cantabria, Spain on August 9, 1940. She made her screen debut in 1958, and she went on to appear in more than 30 feature films over 5 decades. She also had a prolific television career from the beginning of the 1970s until the end of the 1990s. Mercedes appeared in 2 other spaghetti westerns, Gunfighters of Casa Grande in 1963 as Donna Maria del Castellar, and Tomb of the Pistolero as Mary or Ruth Brandon, and was billed as Mercedes West. As far as I know, she's still living. Sheriff Alan Davies, or Davis, was played by Adrian Hoven. Hoven was born William Hofkirchner on May 18, 1922, and he died in Tegernsee, Bavaria, Germany at the age of 58. He appeared in only 2 spaghetti westerns, the other being 7 Hours of Gunfire, which we covered along with his bio in detail in the last episode, number 118. Then we have our friend Bruce, played by Ralph Baldassar. Ralph Baldassar was born in Giardignano, Lecce, Italy on January 17, 1932, and he died on his birthday in Rome in 1995. He's sometimes credited as Ralph Baldwin. He appeared in 43 spaghetti westerns. We covered him in depth in episode number 35 and again in number 81. Then we have Alfonso Alonso Pedro Miguel Almodoras, played by Robert Camardiel. He was born Roberto Camardiel Escudero in Alagon, Zaragoza, Aragon, Spain on November 29, 1917. He died from a bone disease in Zaragoza, Spain on June 15, 1986. He appeared in 28 spaghetti westerns, and we covered him in depth on episode number 35. Then we have Bob Marshall, or Bob Ford, played by Louis Induni. He was born Luigi Induni Radici in Romano de Lombardia, Lombardy, Italy on March 5, 1920. He died in Barcelona, Catalunya, Spain on December 31, 1979. He appeared in 48 spaghetti westerns, and we covered him in depth in episode number 34. Okay, now let's move along to Whatever Became of Pilar Velasquez. Okay, Maria del Pilar Velasquez Lorente was born in Madrid, Spain on February 13, 1946. She made her debut in 1964 at the Teatro Español with the drama Caminos de Damasco. Between 1966 and 1977, she starred in about 50 films and television roles. She was active in Italian genre cinema, especially in spaghetti westerns. In 1979, Velasquez married the Spanish singer and actor Miguel Gallardo. He was born in 1950 and died in 2005. They separated sometime in the 1990s. Pilar has appeared in over 50 films and television appearances, starting with the TV series Novella in 1966. Her last appearance was in a co-starring role in the 2006 film The Good Voice, directed by Antonio Quadri and starring Jose Luis Gomez. Pilar appeared in a stage performance of The Night of the Iguana in 2009. Quoting Kevin Grant in his book Any Gun Can Play, she was trained on the stage. This dark and sensuous Mediterranean beauty gave a fine dramatic performance as a grieving, vengeful daughter in The Forgotten Pistolero, and a tragic Juliet-type figure in When Satan Grips the Colt. She was also widely cast in comedies and horror films, but never achieved the stardom she seemed destined for. Pilar appeared in 8 spaghetti westerns. Some of them as I Came, I Saw, I Shot in '68, where she was billed as Pilar Vela. The Forgotten Pistolero, as Kevin mentions, in '69 as Isabella Carrasco. When Satan Grips the Colt in '69 as Dorothy Warren. Blazing Guns in '71 as Juana Mendoza. Thunder Over El Paso in '71 as Sarita or Annie. Rebels of Arizona in '72 as Juan's wife. The Sentence of God in '72 as Anne. And the Spanish Western 2014 as herself. Okay, I'll post those on YouTube and in the Facebook posting after we're done with this episode. I'll post all of the filmography. Then we move on to Who Are Those Guys and Joe Camel. Okay, Joe Camel, spelled K-A-M-E-L, sometimes spelled C-A-M-E-L, and that's where the confusion arises. Joe Camel with a K, often credited as Joe Camel with a C, was actually an Italian actor named Giuseppe Frisoldi, who was born in Ortono, Chieti, Abruzzo, Italy on May 27, 1934. He appeared in some 20 films starting in 1957 and ending in 1971. Among those 20 films were 10 spaghetti westerns, including such better-known films as Fistful of Dollars, Bullets Don't Argue with Rod Cameron, and Minnesota Clay in '64 with Cameron Mitchell, and The Mercenary with Franco Nero and Tony Musante. He was also credited as Del Carmel, K-A-R-M-E-L, in Seven from Texas and Hour of Death, both in '64. When his film career ended, he went onto an industrial and financial economics career. Giuseppe was married for a time to model singer actress Pia Genberg, who was born in '43, the sister of Mia Genberg, who died in 2020. They were twin sisters and were nieces of actor David Niven, became Las Vegas showgirls for a few years. Jose Canalejas was misidentified as Joe Camel for years. He may have been actually credited in some video releases as Joe Camel, but not in actual film releases that I can find him credited as Joe Camel. Again, I'll post his list of credits on Facebook and YouTube when we finish this podcast. Now we'll move on to Film of the Week and A Hole in the Forehead. Okay, A Hole in the Forehead has one of the great titles of the spaghetti western genre, and it's a 1968 Italian film production, largely overlooked. The Italian title is Un buco in fronte. English title also A Bullet Between the Eyes. Producers were Antonio Lucatelli and Francesco Giorgi. Directed by Joseph Warren, whose real name was Giuseppe Veri. The story and screenplay were done by Adriano Bolzoni. Cinematography was by Amerigo Genzarelli. It's in Technicolor and Technoscope. Music is by Roberto Pregadio, and it runs 91 minutes. Cast consists of Billy or John Blood, played by Anthony Guidra, General Munguija, played by Robert Hundar, Garincha, played by Luigi Martorano, Padre Blasco is played by John McDouglas, Adelita was played by Rosie Zeichel, and Encarnacion was played by Corinne Fontaine. The story goes, gunman Bill Blood, Anthony Guidra, arrives at a monastery where he has an appointment to meet Mexican bandit Murienda, played by Bruno Cataneo, to talk about the recovery of a hidden fortune in gold. It happens that 3 of General Santa Anna's soldiers steal and hide a magnificent treasure, hiding the secret to its location on a trio of playing cards. A problem arises when Murienda turns up dead, but Blood takes a clue from his body, a playing card with part of the information written on it, which leads to the whereabouts of the loot. There are 3 such cards. The others are held by 2 other bandits, one of whom is so-called General Munguija, played by Robert Hundar, who is camped with his gang not far away. Blood gets himself admitted to the bandits' camp and steals the second card before riding off to the local tavern where he thinks he can find the third card. Sure enough, the third card has been left there by the bandit Garincha, played by Luigi Martorano. Before Blood can pursue the treasure, he encounters Munguija's men and loses everything. Luckily, with the help of a couple of women he has previously befriended, he manages to escape and track down Munguija, and in a final showdown finds the hidden treasure. Here we have one of the often used plots in the spaghetti western genre, the hunt for a lost or buried treasure. The clues are usually 3 in number, and the fortune seeker must acquire all 3 clues to enable him to locate and find the exact location. This plot was used in such genre films as The Stranger and a Gunfighter with Lee Van Cleef and Lo Lay, $3 Silver with Charles Southwood and Julian Mateos, and Ringo the Face of Revenge with Anthony Stephan and Eduardo Fajardo. This film is very atmospheric with a horror film feeling. What really helps is the score by Roberto Pregadio. It sets the stone entirely, evoking a melancholy tune that runs throughout the piece and remains the most memorable element of the entire picture. The score will stay in your mind for at least a few days after viewing this film. When one often tires of the repetitive track throughout a film, this one is played differently on different instruments, from an orchestral tune to a moody organ to a classical guitar. This theme often makes dialogue unnecessary. Billy or John Blood's trademark is his quick gun hand and excellent marksmanship, leaving his calling card a hole in the forehead. The screenplay writing is sparse but excellent, and the music and Guidra's facial expressions fill the void. The much overlooked actor is excellent in this role. Hundar is at his best, and the director turned him loose here. He's at the top of his game and goes over the top when he's foiled by Guidra and wants to exact revenge as well as get his hands on the treasure. His vengeance is as big as the colossal hat he wears. It's even bigger than the one he wore in Ramon the Mexican. This film is available on DVD in the USA and in Germany. As far as actor profiles go, we have Billy or John Blood, played by Anthony Guidra. His real name is Dragomir Bojanic Guidra. He was born in Kragujevac, Serbia, Yugoslavia, on June 13, 1933. Guidra appeared in 6 European westerns. He died in Belgrade, Serbia, Federal Republic of Yugoslavia, on November 11, 1993. We covered him in his own episode number 2. General Munguija, played by Robert Hundar. He was born, as we said before, Claudio Andari on January 12, 1935, in Castelvetrano, Trapani, Sicily, Italy. He appeared in 21 spaghetti westerns. He died in Rome on May 12, 2008. and we covered him in his own special episode number 20. Garincha is played by Luigi Martorano. Luigi Martorano was born in Taranto, Puglia, Italy on February 12, 1931. He was often credited as Gino Martorano, George Mataro, or Gene or John Martin. He appeared in 20 spaghetti westerns. He's probably best remembered as Barracuda in 1964's Lost Treasure of the Aztecs, Mike Murphy in 1965's Adios Gringo with Juliana Gemma, and as McCallum in 1969's Sabata with Lee Van Cleef. Luigi was also a capable production manager and stuntman. As far as I know, he's still living. Then we have Padre Blasco, played by John McDouglas. McDouglas was an alias for Giuseppe Adobati, born in Macharska, Kingdom of Dalmatia, Austria-Hungary, on December 31st, 1909. He appeared in 13 spaghetti westerns and is best remembered for his role in 1965's Blood for a Silver Dollar as Donaldson, and as Jason Scott Sr. in 1966, The Brute and the Beast. He also appeared with Barbara Steele in Nightmare Castle. Adobati died on January 4th, 1986, a week before turning 77. Last but not least, we have Encarnacion, played by Corinne Fontaine. She was born in Pergola, Italy in 1946. She appeared in 16 films between 1960 and 69, among which was Barbarella with Jane Fonda and directed by Roger Vadim. She also appeared under the alias Corinne Capri in 1959's The Pirate and the Slave Girl, starring Lex Barker. Corinne appeared in 2 spaghetti westerns, They Call Me Pecos in 1966 as Lola, and 1967's Kill and Prey as Pilar. The IMD says she died in Rome, but does not give a date. Okay, let's move on to the CD of the week, which is A Hole in the Forehead. Okay, A Hole in the Forehead was not released on LP. It was only released in a double CD along with another Ghidorah Western, The Ultimate Killer or Django the Last Killer. It was released in 2000 from Italy on the GDM label. It's number GDM 2020. Contains 12 tracks and 10 tracks. 12 tracks, unfortunately, is for The Ultimate Killer, while only 10 are for A Hole in the Forehead. The listing time is 1 hour, 1 minute, and 27 seconds. Value runs anywhere from $20 to $50, depending on condition. We'll cover the composer, Roberto Pregadio. He was born in Aci Sant'Antonio, Catania, Sicily, Italy, on December 6, 1928. He was a composer, conductor, and songwriter. He graduated in piano at the San Pietro Magella Conservatory in Naples. In 1960, Pregadio became a pianist in the RAI Light Music Orchestra. In the second half of the 60s, for about 15 years, he composed and directed about 50 musical scores. In the 1980s, he founded a jazz ensemble, the Sesteto Swing di Roma. As a composer, he was probably best known for the whistled musical score for the 1969 spaghetti western The Forgotten Pistolero, that he composed with Franco Michelizzi and was one of the top scores of the entire genre. Pregadio composed scores for 9 spaghetti westerns. He died in Rome on November 15, 2010, at the age of 81. Okay, let's do a book of the week. Okay, a book of the week is basically for fans of the silent film genre. And yes, there were British silent films that were westerns. This book is by Alan Burton and Lorraine Porter. It's from Flick Books. It was released in 2000. Has 122 pages. It's in English, of course, since it's made in Britain. It does contain pictures. It does have a filmography of films, and it covers the different silent film actors. If you're into complete history of European westerns, talkies, and silence, this is a must-have. It's very hard to find. It took me years to find a copy, and even then, it was like $50. So good luck. But if you're interested, it's worth tracking down. Okay, let's look at poster of the week. Okay, from the poster attic, I only have one poster this week, and it's the Belgian poster for Son of Jesse James. Belgian posters have great artwork, and you don't have to guess on who they're picking. It's obvious that's Robert Hundar. So that takes care of the poster of the week. We'll do autograph of the week. Okay, autograph of the week. The great Charlie Bronson. Picture from Chado's Land. And I don't recall where I bought this one. I'm sure I did. I bought it. He was never been at one of the Hollywood Collectors Show, so I didn't get it there. So I don't know where I actually got this one. But that takes care of the autograph of the week. And now we'll turn and wrap things up with the weekly news. Okay, for you people on the East Coast, especially in New York, in collaboration with Cinecittà Rome, MoMA, which is the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, celebrates Ennio Morricone, one of the greatest movie composers of all time, with a retrospective of more than 35 films spanning his nearly 60-year career, with more than 17 new digital restorations as well as 35 millimeter archival prints. The exhibition presents a rich selection of films featuring Morricone's most renowned scores, including Sergio Leone's Man with No Name trilogy, Once Upon a Time in the West, Navajo Joe, and The Great Silence. Also, Sergio Solima's The Big Gun Down. The event runs from December 2nd through January 4th, 2024. You can find the Museum of Modern Art online. It's got a complete schedule of times and dates of when these films will be shown. A new French DVD release has been released this week. It's Les Derniers Pistolets, which is The Last Gun, a 1964 spaghetti western directed by Sergio Bergonzelli and starring Cameron Mitchell, Carl Moner, Celine Sali, and Ketty Carver, along with Livio Lorenzen. It was released by Elephant Films on November 28th. It's in PAL format. It's in English, Italian, and French languages with a running time of 92 minutes. Extras include a trailer. We also have a new Spanish Blu-ray of Amigos, which is In for a Roof, A Sky Full of Stars, a 68 spaghetti western directed by Giulio Petroni. Stars Giulio Gemma, Mario Adorf, Magda Konopka, and Federico Boido. It's region A, B, and C, and it's on the Mon Inter label. It's in Spanish and English languages with no subtitles. Running time is 97 minutes and was released on November 28th. Then we have a Japanese DVD Blu-ray combo of Face to Face, a 67 spaghetti western directed by Sergio Solima and starring Tomas Milian, Jean Maria Volante, and William Berger. It's available as a combo or individual DVD and Blu-ray releases. It was released on November 29th. And then wrapping up the releases is a new German Winnetou 1, which is in the English release was Apache Gold 63, directed by Harold Reinl, starring Lex Barker, Pierre Brice, Mario Adorf, Maria Versini. It's on Leonine Tobis label. It's 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray. It's in German and English languages, and English and German subtitles with a running time of 101 minutes. The extras include an original theatrical trailer, the re-release trailer, an interview documentary with interviews with Pierre Brice and others, experts from Wochenshaw and Karl May, film mistakes, a quiz, a gallery, and deleted scene from the Geyer archive. It was released on December 1st. As far as Boot Hill this week, we have Aldo Lotto. He was an Italian film and television director and assistant director, screenwriter, and author. He died on November 25th in Rome, a week short of his 89th birthday. He was born on December 5th, 1934 in Fiume, Italy, and came up through the film industry ranks as an assistant director, notably to Bernardo Bertolucci on The Conformist in 1970. After a series of experiences as an assistant director, Lotto made his directorial debut in 1971 with the horror thriller The Short Night of the Glass Dolls, followed the following year by the thriller Who Saw Her Die in 72. In 2015, he began his career as a writer, participating with several short stories such as The Giant and the Child, Cold Case on Lake Maggiore. Lotto was an assistant director on the spaghetti westerns Hallelujah for Django in 66, Pecos Cleans Up in 67, May God Forgive You But I Won't, and was a screenwriter on Lynching, both in 68. Then we have the passing of Shane MacGowan. Shane MacGowan was the lead singer of the British band The Pogues. He died years after health problems on November 30th in Dublin, Ireland. He was 1 month shy of his 66th birthday. He was born Shane Patrick Lysack MacGowan in Penbury, Kent, England on December 25, 1957. MacGowan was best known for his tongue-in-cheek, cranky delivery as the frontman of the Pogues, chronicling the misadventures of Ireland's residents and diaspora in raspy, whiskey-ravaged tones. Coming up in the early 1980s, he and the Pogues wielded Irish pride and the volatile, rebellious energy of the punk, often incorporating the nation's classics and pop tunes into their repertoire. Their legendary antics on and off the stage were as much part of the band's philosophy as the music. MacGowan appeared as Bruno McMahon, along with the Pogues and Alex Cox's Straight to Hell, where they also composed the soundtrack. Okay, that wraps it up for this week. Hope to see you on down the trail. Until next time, this is a Roberto Genesi production, and adios, amigos.